Welcome back to my weekly updates on the business and legal aspects of sports. What a week it was in sports law. One of the more momentous weeks in the history of sports law. This is a course that you take the lectures, but it writes itself as we go. We had a historic ruling against the NFL last week from Judge Richard Berman in the New York court about the lingering Deflate Gate issue that has dominated the offseason. I'm recording this at the start of the NFL season, the Thursday night game, the Patriots and the Steelers. Well, the Patriots played the last game of the last season and the first game of this coming season. It seems like they played an entire offseason against the NFL. We know what happened with the deflated footballs and the allegations and Tom Brady's 4-game suspension, which was upheld by Roger Goodell according to the collective bargaining agreement. He had the ability to hear the appeal, which he did, and then he upheld the 4 games. Well, off to court we go. Yes, to court, not just within the private arbitration system, but to court. The NFL, when they upheld the 4-game suspension, filed a motion to confirm the award in their chosen court, the New York District Court. And what they were trying to do was foreclose the NFLPA, the Players Association, from going to their preferred venue, the Federal District Court of Minnesota, where they've had a lot of wins. And in fact, the NFLPA filed in Minnesota and were told, no, get out of here. You have to go to New York. And they did. Well, the NFL, this goes down as in the history of sports law, one of the ultimate careful what you wish for moments. They went to New York. They drew this judge named Richard Berman, who had a really healthy dose of impatience and wanted transparency. We saw the Brady appeal hearing in its full bluster in the exhibits. We were able to read through that and everything that happened there. And I can tell you, I sat through all 3 hearings of court before the decision last week. And here's what I observed. Judge Richard Berman was very offensive, very strident towards the NFL. Less so towards the union, represented by Jeffrey Kessler. All their arguments about the NFL giving Tom Brady lack of notice about equipment violations, lack of notice that he could suffer a suspension for anything that happened with footballs, that it was an unfair process, that the NFLPA did not get to review the Wells report before it happened, that the NFLPA did not get to cross-examine Jeffrey Pash, the NFL's lead lawyer, who had some kind of involvement in preparation of the Wells report. When I saw all this in court, I thought, okay, what he's trying to do is get the NFL to settle because they're least likely to settle compared to the NFLPA. And he was being harsher on them because I thought ultimately he would rule for the NFL because judges are very hesitant, are loath, if you will, to overturn arbitrations. Well, lo and behold, it came out last Thursday. On September 3rd, the NFL lost the case. And I say that because I don't think Brady won the case. I think the NFL lost the case. Brady's suspension was vacated. He's obviously free to play, and we'll get to the NFL's appeal of this ruling. What are the reasons? Everything I saw in court. That the NFLPA was not given due notice, not process. It was an evidentially partial hearing. There was fundamental unfairness, kind of an abuse of discretion. You know, a term from politics, the 1%ers. This was a 1%er. Almost all arbitrations are upheld because courts don't want to get into it. We have a labor policy in this country where courts don't overrule arbitrations. This is the 1% they did. The NFL screwed up the process. Here's something you need to know, and it's been misreported in the media. Tom Brady did not win this case. Tom Brady's innocence or guilt regarding deflated footballs was not an issue. The issue was the way the NFL ran the process of giving him due notice, giving him appeal hearing, giving him the right way to confront the commissioner. And listen, I thought the NFL would win the case. I thought the opinion would have about 30 pages of what the NFL did wrong, but then pivot, and Judge Berman would say, but I have to rule for the NFL because the Supreme Court, there's precedent all the way to the Supreme Court. In a sports case, Steve Garvey of Major League Baseball was ruled against because Major League Baseball had an arbitration process. He had to go through that. This is a winner for Tom Brady. And again, nothing about Tom Brady's innocence or guilt regarding footballs, but Tom Brady wins the case. I think it's a historic rebuke for Commissioner Goodell, for the NFL. It goes in line with these other cases that he has lost. Not he, the NFL has lost. Greg Hardy, Adrian Peterson, Ray Rice appeal, the Bounty Gate decisions where former Commissioner Paul Tagliabue overruled Roger Goodell's suspensions. It's not been a good year. It's not been a good time. And the NFL has to be looking inward at its own legal counsel, saying, what's going on here? Why are we losing these cases? If we stand up there and say CBA, CBA, it's not working. We got to figure out something else. So probably there's some cross-eyed looks going to the inside counsel at the NFL and the outside counsel. Why are we losing these cases? Now, of course, this case goes to appeal. The Second Circuit of Appeals, also based in New York, will hear this case. We don't know when the NFL has appealed. Just like they appealed the Adrian Peterson decision in a Minnesota district court, we wait for that as well. The NFL may eventually get their vaunted precedent, but what we have now is a stunning rebuke to the NFL, a stunning rebuke to their CBA powers, and some talk about reducing or clarifying or maybe some sort of sentencing guidelines for Roger Goodell. In the end, a year ago, we were excoriating the Commissioner of Football for being too soft on Ray Rice. The whole summer, we're excoriating the Commissioner for being too hard on Tom Brady. I think the real problem? Too arbitrary. What we have to come out with is some kind of, like I said, sentencing guidelines, clarification, restriction, so that we know what's going on here. My final point about this case, I sat in that hearing and Judge Berman was incredulous. Now, how much of these 4 games is for deflation? How much is for lack of cooperation? Why is this compared to a steroid suspension? Where do you get that? Again, it's securing a competitive advantage, but it seems to be out of thin air. What we need is more clarity, less arbitrary, less capricious. So again, in sum, a stunning rebuke for the NFL, a major sports law case. Tom Brady wins against the NFL, but more importantly and more realistically, it's a loss. They didn't present the case. They didn't follow the process. The NFL loses a big case. We wait as it goes on appeal. I'm Andrew Brandt.